You're listening to the Sales Hunter podcast. My name's Mark Hunter, and hey, it's Monday. Are you ready to prospect this week? I know I am. But let me tell you something. It's time you ditch the big prospecting list. It's time for you to go small. Hey, the world has changed. You know what's happened? It's noisy out there. Come on, we all know it's noisy. And to prospect effectively requires a different approach. That's what I'm going to share with you today. I'm going to walk you through 10 questions that you need to ask regarding every prospect before you dive into them. Hey, that's today's episode, and it begins right now.
You're listening to the Sales Hunter podcast with Mark Hunter, where the focus is to help you as a sales leader sell with confidence and integrity. And now here's your host.
Your time is invaluable. It's incredible how valuable it is. It's the most important critical asset that you have. And that means you got to be spending time with your best prospects, not anybody and everybody. There are 10 questions that you need to ask, and I'm going to drill down to them. And oh, by the way, you know what? Your ICP, that's table stakes. That is just at the forefront because, again, if all you're doing is saying, hey, they fit my ICP, my ideal customer profile, it's not going to be enough. You're going to wind up with too many leads. Yes, I said that, too many leads. Let's dive into the 10 questions before I do that. Hey, if you've got a sales meeting coming up, I want you to reach out and call me. I do a lot of sales kickoff meetings. New Year is just around the corner. Call me. Let's talk. Okay, the 10 questions. Number one, what's the lifetime value of this prospect? You got to ask yourself this question because if you're going to go into this process of getting this customer, what's the lifetime value? Is this going to be a one-off transaction, or is this going to be a relationship that you're going to be able to create a substantial amount of business from? This means understanding who else are they connected to? What are some other divisions? What are some other entities? Who are some other people? Where are some other pieces? Number two, what is the sales cycle? In other words, what is the process that the customer goes through? Do they put out an RFP every year and it becomes a dance? It becomes a bake-off? Do you really want to participate in that? I don't know. That's a decision you have to make. The sales cycle, is it all driven because of current contracts or capital expenditures, business decisions that have to be made? In other words, the sales cycle, how long it's going to take for you to secure the sale, is absolutely critical because there may be opportunities that you see, but because the sales cycle is so long and you're way at the front of it, it doesn't make sense to begin that conversation until maybe a year or two from now. Number three, can I provide a viable solution for them? Okay, you'd think this would be basic. Can I provide them a viable solution? But too often we get into the hunt and we stretch the expectations. We stretch what we say can be the deliverables. We stretch and we begin pushing ourselves into really delivering a product, a solution that just doesn't quite fit us or fit the customer. If you can't see the path to be creating a viable solution quickly, get out. Don't prospect. Number four, what's the downstream revenue for them? Now, I talk a lot about downstream revenue. Downstream revenue is because, hey, if I'm able to sell this customer, are there other customers that they sell to that I may be able to sell to? Are there other people in their supply chain that I may be able to connect to? In other words, can I make one sale and as a result establish a relationship to be able to create more sales beyond that? Number five, what is their position in the industry? In other words, there are companies that I will prospect because they are very much flagship entities in their industry. And I know that if I can work with them, there's going to be a halo effect, and I'm going to be able to undoubtedly be able to get connections, get relationships, and just have this aura that, hey, if Mark is working with them, Mark should be working with us. Absolutely key. This is very valuable. What's their position in their industry? At the same time, there are companies there are leads that you're going to get, and it's just, their stature in the marketplace is just not good. Maybe they've gone through some bankruptcy issues. They've gone through some leadership issues. They're in a real tenuous situation. Don't spend time with them, because again, I'm going to respect my time and the value of it. And I want to be focusing on prospects that I know I can make a big difference with. Number 6, what is their referral potential? Okay, you knew this one was going to be coming up, right? What's their referral potential? Because what I'm talking about here is, can I work with this customer? And I know, because of who they are, I'm going to be able to get referrals with additional customers. It's huge. Are there referrals that I can get within their company? Maybe they're owned by a private equity firm, or they're part of a larger holding company, or they know other people. In other words, are there other people that they can connect me with? Now, you're probably sitting there saying, Mark, I don't necessarily know the answers to these questions, even before I make the first call, before I make the first reach out. I know. I totally get that. But I want you to have this list here, and we've only gone through the first 6, because I want you to keep this in mind, because you have to validate as to whether or not your time is going to be worth spent, especially for those of you who are dealing with complex sales. If you're dealing with a long-term complex sale, this is extremely critical for you to answer these, because the last thing you want to do is to get into a process. You spend several months, and then you find out the dog don't hunt. There's no dance. You lost the Pillsbury Bake-Off. You got to make sure that it fits all along the way. Number 7, what is the learning opportunity? Oh, this one's different. See, here's what I found, and I've had this several times. There have been customers that I've wanted to work with because they are so far in front of everyone else in the industry. There are people in that entity that are just absolutely stalwarts, highly respected. And there's going to be a learning opportunity for me and my company. This is very, very key, because I have seen many, many times where salespeople have been able to go in and sell. In fact, I'm talking about one of these people in my new book that's coming out in January, where a salesperson was able to go in because it was a great learning opportunity. And as a result, he and his company were able to create significant improvements in kind of the next generation of their product, because they were willing to partner with this company and sell to this company that they saw as a learning opportunity. Number 9, could working with this company, if I were to land this company, this prospect, would it put me in jeopardy with another customer? This comes up far more often than you realize. There may be 2 absolute major players in a particular industry, and they're brutal with each other, and they have such a competitive and confident level of confidentiality that if you are working with somebody else, they will not work with them. I used to work for a company that was like that. And if anybody came in and they even mentioned our competitor's name, they were thrown out. They were literally thrown out. It was a non-starter. This is absolutely key. Working with them also put you in jeopardy with another customer, because there may be issues that are going to stress your supply chain. Because again, if I get this customer, is it going to help me? For instance, Walmart, Amazon, Costco, in the consumable goods arena, very much key. Because what could happen is that if I'm going to start selling to Walmart, but because Walmart is going to place such a high demand on the volume that they're going to need, it may negate my ability to sell to other customers. Same thing with Amazon, same thing with Costco. There are major, and again, I'm just using that industry as kind of an example, but believe me, there are a lot out there. Yeah. Number 10 on the list is, do they fit my level of integrity and standards? Don't ever compromise your integrity. Don't ever compromise your standards. You cannot afford to. Because once you do once, it is amazing at how it'll become a slippery slope. But more importantly than this, you become known by the people you associate with. Where am I going with this? If you start dancing with a company that in the industry is not known for having high moral standards, a high level of integrity, then guess what? You then get lumped in with that. And again, you've got to be very cautious. The other issue here is that this really comes back to the value proposition, because what I found is that companies that do not have integrity and high moral standards, they're going to push you on everything, 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 everything. And they're never going to really accept. This is very equivalent to kind of the low price. Now, you notice I did not have in there low price, because I don't believe that's a qualification from a prospecting standpoint. No, because if you create enough value, the customer will pay. Let's walk through this list here one more time real quick, and I want to share with you a couple more pieces here. Number one, what's the lifetime value of the prospect? Really, you got to look at this. And way to look at that is by saying, what's the history of the company? What's the projection of the company? Number two, what is the sales cycle? Is procurement department involved? This is a very quick question for you to answer. If the procurement department is involved, you can imagine that the sales cycle is going to be longer and more difficult. Three, can I provide a viable solution? In other words, do I have what this company needs, or is this going to require a high level of development work on our end? And if it does, am I going to have to get additional approvals to be able to sell to this company? Number four, what's the downstream revenue? I love looking at this because I want to understand who their customers are. Now, this is a foundational piece of selling. I always want to know my customers, who are they selling to? Who are they beholden to? And can I create opportunities there? Number five, what's their position in the industry? I'm going to tell you right now, if you're looking to get into a new industry, I want you to prospect right now to those who are seen as the flagship entities in that industry. Go to the top, work with those players, because that will create a halo effect and it will dramatically improve your ability to open doors with other companies. What's the referral potential? See, again, you know what I found is that if people understand you as an individual, understand you as a company, understand your product solution, they will undoubtedly tell other people. So in other words, what's the referral potential? And I look at this two ways: inside their company and outside their company. There are companies that I have prospected where I know there's a tremendous amount of referral potential inside the company, but it's so big, I'm willing to answer. But there are others who, because of how they operate and the boards that they serve on and the associations that they participate in, there's a lot of referral potential outside. That's fine. It's great. Number eight, what's the learning opportunity? Don't underestimate this. In fact, any customer that you sell to, I want you to be asking yourself this question: what am I learning? What am I learning from them? How can this help me with other customers? Number nine, could working with them put me at jeopardy with another customer? You got to be careful. This is why you do not do work with companies that do not have a stellar reputation. And you also got to be mindful that if I'm dealing with the big kid in the industry, are they going to be upset if I start dancing with somebody else? And what could that put that business at risk? And number 10, of course, do they fit my level of integrity and standards? You want to sleep good at night. You have to be able to sleep good at night. And you do that by only dealing with those customers. Hey, my name's Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter. You've been listening to the Sales Hunter podcast, 2 episodes a week. One like this, where we do a deep dive into a subject matter and really unpack it. Second one is where I do a deep dive with a subject matter expert, another person that I bring in to talk about a topic. Hey, my whole goal is to help you see and achieve what you didn't think was possible. Do me a favor. If you're having a sales kickoff meeting, call me. Let's talk, because I want to be part of your next sales kickoff meeting. I'm Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter. Great selling.